So thank you for joining me this morning. We are going to walk through DocuSign step by step, everything that you need to know to get your contracts out through DocuSign. As we go through the training this morning, ask any questions that you have. You can either use the chat box, and I'll check that throughout the training, or feel free to unmute yourself, especially if I'm kind of moving along pretty quickly and you don't want me to pass something up. To get started, I'm going to go to opportunities because it's very important that when you're using DocuSign and when you are about to start sending documents that you have an opportunity set up in Command. So I'm going to go to my opportunities over here on the left-hand side, the icon of the two hands shaking. I'm going to click on that. And then for me personally, I like coming up here to the All Opportunities tab, and that'll show me a list of all the opportunities that I have in Command. So here's the opportunity that I created this morning for our example. So we have my opportunity name is 1234 Main Street Northeast Stark Potts listing. This is for my clients, Tony Stark and Pepper Potts. And then over here on the right-hand side, I can add in the property address. So I'll just quickly type this in, 1234 Main Street. And then we'll do, there we go, Main Street Northeast. Click Save. Perfect. So now to really get started with using DocuSign, I'll come over to the Documents tab. And then you'll see here on the right, in the corner on the right-hand side, is a button that says Start a Transaction. This is the button that you have to click to sync your command with the DocuSign room. By syncing the room and the opportunity, you'll be able to add documents directly into the opportunity for compliance review without having to download them out of DocuSign and then uploading them into Command. It's going to be one of the biggest time savers that you have and one of the real biggest benefits of using DocuSign. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Start a Transaction, and it's going to start, it's thinking, and now it's going to prompt me to log into DocuSign. So I'll click Continue and log in. And now it has created a room for me. So you'll see up here in the top left-hand corner, it says 1234 Main Street Northeast Stark Potts listing. It pulled in that name directly from Command. And then below that, we have the ID number. So if you ever wanted to just email documents directly into your room, you could use this ID number. That's kind of a DocuSign 2.0, but just wanted to point that out that that's where that information is. Now, if you have never logged into DocuSign before, or you haven't set up a transaction yet, before you do anything else, you need to confirm your NRDS ID. That ID number is what is going to confirm with DocuSign that you are a realtor and you have access and the right to use the Georgia Association of Realtor documents. If you do not confirm your NRDS number, you will not have access to those forms, and you won't be able to write a contract in DocuSign. There are two ways to confirm your NRDS ID. The first one is directly here in the Documents tab, and the other one is in My Preferences, and I'll show you how to do both. Since we're already here in Documents, since this is where DocuSign puts us once we create our room, I'm just going to click on Add and then select DocuSign Forms. Now, because I haven't confirmed my NRDS ID, I get this pop-up with these two logos, the Realtor logo and the Northwest MLS logo. I'm going to select the Realtor logo, and then another window will pop up asking me to put my NRDS ID number in and then select my association. I've only met 2 agents that know their NRDS ID number by heart, and I'm not one of them. So to find your NRDS ID, you can click on this link right here. It says Find Your NRDS ID. And that'll open up a new browser window where we can use last name, email address, and license number to get that ID. So I'm going to use my last name and license number to find my NRDS ID. Click Submit. And then here is my NRDS ID. So I'll just copy this, copy, and I'll close out this window, and I'll come back into DocuSign, paste that in that box there. And now I need to select Georgia Association of Realtors from the dropdown. It has every realtor association in the nation. There's a lot. So just scroll all the way to the bottom, and then Georgia Association of Realtors is like number 12 from the bottom. And then once you've done that, click validate. It'll now sync and check those agreements. And now I have access to those DocuSign forms. Now, if it's your very, very first time confirming your NRDS ID, you'll have another pop-up window saying that you accept the terms and conditions of NRDS of the National Association of Realtors, and then another one for Georgia Association of Realtors. So just click confirm or accept for both those windows. And now I have access to the GAR forms. The other way to confirm your NRDS ID is up in the top right-hand corner. You either can have your picture or your initials, select that, and then come down to preferences. And then over on the left-hand side, there's in the menu, integrations, select that, and then scroll down just a little bit, and you'll see our NRDS ID information. So you can input your information here just the same way you could in that pop-up window. And if you don't know your NRDS ID, to the right of the box here, it will have a find your ID number, and you can click that URL and it'll open up that same browser window. And then you would select Georgia Association of Realtors and then select save. And it'll give you the same pop-ups that you accept the terms and conditions of both associations. Be sure that you confirm your NRDS ID number before you do anything else in DocuSign, because it will definitely be a roadblock that prevents you from starting to work in any of the GAR forms. So now that we've confirmed our NRDS ID, I'm going to go back to the room. So let me come to my dashboard, recently viewed rooms. So pretending that we didn't do any of that NRDS ID information, it was already taken care of. Command, when we clicked on start a transaction, it dropped us off right here in the documents tab of this new room that it just created. Before we do anything in DocuSign, before we start adding any forms, we need to go to the details tab right here in the top left-hand corner, because this is where we're going to input all of the information for this contract. Now, for today's example, I set up to have a listing because I wanted to show you how to use the seller's property disclosure, community association disclosure, on how to send those to clients. But we'll also walk through the purchase and sale agreement. So before we do anything else, we want to fill in the information here, because this is going to be the information that's going to be automatically pulled in to each one of the GAR forms. So that way you don't have to type it in every single time. There's a lot of fields on this page, and I'll kind of break it down in two different parts. On the left-hand side, I guess 3/4 of the page on the left-hand side is going to be all the information about the property that you're either listing or that you're submitting an offer for. You can kind of see here, location, address, listing details, offer details, confirmation, closing details, and all of that. You'll want to fill in as much information that you have at the time. You can add additional information further along through the contract process, but the more you can add, the better. And then on the right-hand side, we have all of our client information. And again, it's super important that this information is filled in. Command our DocuSign should pull this information out of the contact cards within Command, but sometimes it doesn't. So you always want to double check it and make sure that it's correct. So since I'm doing a listing, I have my seller one here. Tony Stark is my seller's name. It pulls in the phone number and the email address for that contact. If I scroll down, I have seller 2, we have Pepper Potts, the email address associated with Pepper, which is just my personal email. And then scrolling down, listing agent, and it has myself, so it pulls in my information. So phone number, most of the address for my brokerage. Now scrolling down, if I had another co-op or co-listing agent, his or her information could go here. And if I scroll down, then here's where buyer 1's information would go in. So if you are representing the buyer, you would fill in his or her information here, buyer 2, and then the buyer's agent. Now you can fill in as much of this information that you want. So if you want to fill in the buyer's name or the seller's name or the co-op agent's information, that's fine. So that way it would auto-populate. But just to note that and I'll say it again later, I do not recommend sending any documents through DocuSign to co-op agents. So I just want to clarify that on the upfront. So let's go through here and edit all these fields so that way the information pulled into our forms is correct. So let's click on the edit button. And I could edit the name of the room here if I wanted to. You don't really need to, it doesn't matter, but you can leave it as it is. And I'll just fill in as much of the information as possible. So local currency, I'll use US dollars. It's not under contract. For MLS ID, DocuSign does not pull in the information from FMLS like .loop does. I know a lot of agents, myself included, love that feature of .loop. Unfortunately, it does not work in DocuSign. So just fill in your MLS ID information here. And you can fill in, origin of lead if you want to, select company room status, new listing, and then type in the address here. So 1234 Main Street Northeast, Atlanta. We'll do Fulton County, state, postal code 30342, property type, residential detached, year built. I'm just going to select 2000, and there are no special circumstances. So list date, so we'll write this listing agreement to go live on August 1st. Listing expiration, we'll do September 30th. Original listing amount, we'll do 425, 123, 425, 123, 425, 123, and 425, 123. Scrolling down, offer details. So this is a brand new listing, so we don't have any offer details yet. We don't have a highest bid and no closing details. List side commission, we'll do 3%. Buyer side commission, 3%. And then that is it for the property details. And then I'll come through on the right-hand side and double check my seller's information that it was pulled in correctly from command. So seller one, name, phone, email. Now, I will say this, you can fill in all this information if you want, but at the end of the day, the only two pieces of information you need for this field is your client's legal name as to how they can sign documents and their email address. So that way you can send the documents for signature. You don't need their phone number and mailing address if you don't want to. So I have name, phone, email. Scrolling down, we have seller two, Pepper Potts, and email address, good to go. I'm going to come down here. So here's my name, Nicholas Kaur, business phone. I'll type in cell phone 414-8238, business phone, email address, company. So you'll see here it automatically pulls in Keller Williams Realty First Atlanta. I delete Realty out of the name just because in some of the fields within the documents, it makes it too long. So Keller Williams First Atlanta fits. I know Atlanta perimeter is a little bit longer, and so I think Lynn said you could do KW Atlanta perimeter and you'd be fine. So that way the company will fit properly in the field. So address here, city, Atlanta, country, United States, state, Georgia, zip code 30342. And then listing agent two, there isn't a co-op. And then I don't want to include the buyer's name because, I don't know who the buyers are yet. So I am good to go with filling in all of the details. Any questions about filling in or confirming your NRDS ID and filling in the details tab? All right. So now that we filled in the details, now we can start working with our GAR forms. To find the GAR forms, you'll click on Documents and go to the Documents tab. And we will select Add in the top right-hand corner and select DocuSign Forms. So this pop-up will come up, this pop-up window. It'll say DocuSign Forms Library. And then you would select Georgia Association of Realtors. And this is going to pull in all 181 GAR forms that you have access to use. Now, if you're an agent with the Atlanta Perimeter office, Stacy has already gone through and set up groups for you. So you could select the DocuSign Forms groups, and then there'd be a drop down from the select DocuSign Forms groups for your listing documents, your buyer documents, tenant, all the documents that you would need for which side of the transaction that you are managing. First Atlanta does not have that set up just yet. So for today's example, I'm going to go through and I'm going to show you how to search for all of your forms if you ever need anything outside of those groups or if you're an agent with First Atlanta. So I'll select the Georgia Association of Realtors. I don't know why the Greater Alabama MLS is there. It is, just ignore it. So I'll select GAR.
Hey, Nick, it's Stacy. Hey, maybe I need to give you something you can show to show what it looks like on our market center next time.
Okay, yeah, that would be great. I can just pull that up. So I've selected the library, and now all the 181 GAR forms have popped up here. You don't need to add all 181, so we'll start to search for our form that we need in the form finder. So the first one we'll want, since this is a listing agreement, we'll do exclusive seller, and usually here we have the exclusive seller listing agreement F101. Now what I would recommend is that you start to learn the form number. So this is F101 because there are a lot of GAR forms that have very similar names, and I have caught myself so many times incorrectly using the condo form or the land lot version of the document because I'm in a multiple offer situation and time is really tight and I have to get all these forms. I'm like, oh no, I pulled in the wrong one by accident. So I recommend start learning the form numbers. So we have our seller, our listing agreement. Now we need the seller's property disclosure. So type in seller's property disclosure. And then here we go, seller's property disclosure exhibit F301. And then we need the community association disclosure. So we'll select that. And you'll see that as I add each one of these forms, this counter in the bottom left-hand corner lets me know that 3 forms have been selected. And then the last document I want to add just for today is the purchase and sale. And this is the F201. Now that is a form number you should definitely learn because it may be one of the single most important forms that you use in your real estate career. So F201, and I'll click add, and I have 4 forms selected. I'm going to click add. The page will reload, and it's going to input all of those documents into the Room Docs folder. Now, you may remember in .loop, we had very specific guidelines on how we needed to have our folders organized for when we submitted for compliance review. Well, Lynn doesn't look at your DocuSign folder, so you can have it as messy or as organized as you want. If you want to break up your documents into multiple folders, we can do that. So for today, I can set up a listing agreements folder. So I'll select actions in the top right-hand corner and click add folder. And I'll give this folder a name for listing agreements. And then click create. And you can see here is my new listing agreement folder. There's 2 ways that you can move documents to different folders within DocuSign. The first one is if you roll your mouse over the document icon, this circle will appear in the top left-hand corner, so select that. And when you do that, whenever you select a document, this toolbar will appear at the top of the page. So if you want to move a document, just roll your mouse over to the move icon, select that, select a destination, so folder in current room, and then I'll select the listing agreement folder and then click move. And now it has moved that document. The other way is to simply click on that document and drag it up to that folder. So it's much easier. And I'll do the same for the seller's property disclosure. So you'll see here I have all my listing agreement documents in this first listing agreement folder, and then I have my purchase and sale agreement in the Room Docs folder. I could create another folder for purchase and sale agreements or binding contracts if you want, but I just want to show you quickly an example of how to set up new folders. Now, one thing I do want to specify, anytime you add a document to the room or anytime you receive a signed document, it's going to default into the Room Docs folder. So you will have to manually move it into whichever corresponding folder you want. All right, so now we have added our documents to the room. Now we can start updating them. So I'm going to start with my exclusive seller listing agreement. So to start working on it, just click on it and it will open up and we can start typing in information. Give it a second to load. Perfect. So Scrolling through here, we'll just start at the top and work our way front to the bottom. It's going to be very similar to what it was like in .loop to fill in the information. So you'll see here, it automatically filled in the property address, the county, and the zip code. We can add in the tax parcel ID from the tax records. And then for legal description, if I personally prefer to use the deed booking page, but I know that Atlanta Perimeter loves to use the attached exhibit. So reaching out to Campbell and Brandon or one of our preferred closing attorneys to ask for the legal description. So
Organic PC.
Yep.
I'll type the address in the chat.
Perfect. Thank you, Stacy. So we can attach that legal description to our listing agreement. So we'll select attached as listing as an exhibit here too. And then scrolling down, we'll just fill in all the information. So listing period. So that starts on 8/1/2020. And then we're going to do the end date of 9/30/2020. Now it doesn't have a calendar feature like .loop did. So you do have to manually type in the address. And then we'll see here, the broker's list duties list price. That's going to pull in that price directly from a details tab. Now, one thing that's very interesting about .loop is that it doesn't like to use commas in sales prices. So that's why you'll see here, it doesn't have a comma, it's just $425,000. And then we'll select here, seller does have the right to negotiate. Oh, one thing I do want to clarify before we get too much further into working these documents. Today's training is how to use these documents and how to fill in the documents. It is not a training on the information best used to fill in. All of that will come from Lynn and our closing attorneys. So this is just, if I type something in here and it's not right or an abbreviation, just know it's for time's sake. All right, so we've selected negotiation. Our marketing, we have FMLS, GMLS, and KWLS. Our commission selected to be 3%, and then the broker agrees to pay 3%. Protected period, we'll do 90 days. We are an independent contractor, and we do not offer dual agency and sub agency. Scrolling through, there are no special circumstances for this property, so we'll scroll through. Keep scrolling. And keep scrolling. Now we have our brochures. All of the brochures are in the documents list added. So the same way we added these forms, you could select add DocuSign forms. And I believe Atlanta Perimeter already has them set up in groups, or you could just search for their name out of all the full list of GAR forms. So you'd select the different brochures you'd want to send over to your clients. And then exhibit, so legal description exhibit, make that A, and special circumstances. You can write in any of your special steps here that you wanted to. Just start typing in, it's super easy. Special step, special step. And then one thing I really like about DocuSign versus .loop is that all these text fields, you can't edit them or you can't delete them. So I can't tell you how many times in .loop I would be typing and I spelled something incorrectly and I would try to backspace to delete it, and I would delete the whole text box and have to add a text box, reformat it. You don't have to worry about that here. You can hit Shift Delete all you want in DocuSign and it will not delete any text box. So I've added my special stipulations. I'm going to scroll down. You can see here it's added my seller 1, seller 2, and their email address. Perfect. Scrolling down. Now it's added most of the information for me as the listing agent, but there's still some information I do need to add. So the MLS office code, so KWFA01, the brokerage license number. Hutch at the region knows that a lot of agents have asked if we can go ahead and find out how we can get this information to be loaded every single time because it will never change. So he is working with DocuSign to get that information filled in so we don't have to add it every time. And then I'll fill in the fax number, come over here to licensee phone number, and you just fill in the information. Fax number 531 5708. License number 379844, and then membership, Atlanta. There we go. So now we have all the information for our listing agreement. So I will click Save and Close. You can either click here at the bottom of the document or the top of this pop-up menu, Save and Close. It's that simple. Now you'll notice there were no signature fields on that document like there were in .loop, because we will send it for signature in just a moment in an envelope. So let's go through and finish filling out our disclosures. So the next is going to be our seller's property disclosure. So I'll open that up. Let's give it a second to load. Now you'll see here, it's pre-populated our property address. You know, we don't have an offer date yet because we don't have an offer. And I could fill in the exhibit number, but I don't know what that is. Now I'll scroll down and you'll see there's a ton of blanks. There's no text fields here. There's no check boxes. I don't have access to fill in or change any of this information. That is on purpose. Us as agents are not allowed to fill in any of the information for any of the seller's property disclosures, community association disclosures, lead-based paint disclosures. All of those fields must be completed by seller one. So it looks like this form isn't working properly, but it is. So I just wanted to point this out to you that you'll be able to scroll through here and it'll look like it's blank. It's not. When we get into the envelopes, I will show you how you can tell that this document is properly mapped for seller one to fill in the information. So just scrolling down, you can see we have seller one's name and seller two's name. And we'll click Save and Close. It's that simple. And then I'll do the same thing for the community association disclosure. So open that, make sure all the information is pre-populated correctly. Perfect, there's our address. Scrolling through, again, all these fields are blank. We can't type anything in, can't edit anything. And that's on purpose. So we'll just scroll through, make sure there's no errors. And it doesn't show any seller initials here because all those initials will appear in and signatures will appear in the envelope. So I'll click Save and Close. So I've gone through and we have updated all of the listing agreement forms that we need. Now let's look at the purchase and sale agreement. Now I understand for today's example, we're working on a listing, but I want to walk through the purchase and sale agreement with you just so you can see how to go through and update it and how it works. Very similar to what we walked through with the listing agreement, the purchase and sale agreement is the exact same. I always recommend to start at the top and we'll work our way down. So offer date. So we'll do, today is 7/31/2020. Scrolling down, legal description attached as an exhibit here too. Purchase price, so it's listed at $425. So let's do a purchase price of $415. So 1, 2, 3. And then you can just hit tab and go to seller's contribution to closing costs. So we'll do $5,000. And for whatever reason for the closing costs, it will accept a comma in that field. The closing date shall be 8/31/2020. Possession at closing. Holder of earnest money, KWFA. Closing attorney, I'm going to select Campbell and Brannon. Glenridge office. And then earnest money, we'll do $4,150 within 3 days of binding. Inspection due date, we'll do 10 days. So it's really that simple, just going through and filling in the information. So it adds listing brokers, Keller Williams First Atlanta. I'm representing as client. And then let's say the selling broker, whoever would be submitting an offer, we'll just make that Harry Norman. And they're representing a seller. Material relationships, NA. And then we'll let this go to 12 p.m. on 8/1/2020. Perfect. So we'll just continue to scroll through and fill in any information as needed. So scrolling down. Perfect. So now we get to our exhibits. So we will do our community association exhibit. So we'll make this exhibit B. Seller's property disclosure, we'll make this exhibit A. And I guess, obviously you would want to add your loan exhibit if you wanted to add that as well. So special stipulation. So we just type in special stip, more steps, steps. So you just type in all your stipulations here. Now, one thing I will say, the space here for your special stipulations is not very large. I don't know why DocuSign only mapped this small of an area and didn't give us the full space. There is a workaround for that. And that is, number one, you can use the additional special stipulations page to put in more stipulations, or you can not put in your stipulations here in the documents tab, and then we can add a text box in the envelope, and you can add your stipulations, and you can reformat the size of the box and also make the font smaller so you can fit a little bit more text in the field. So just want to point that out for you. Because I do know a lot of agents have stipulations they use on every single purchase and sale agreement, regardless of the transaction. All right, so continuing to scroll down, you see here we have our seller's name, seller's email address, seller 2, and seller 2's email address. Now, I personally do not like to share my client's contact information with a co-op agent. 9 times out of 10, I bet that co-op agent is going to be great and very respectful of the relationship that I have with my clients. But there's always going to be that rogue agent that goes around me or tries to cut me out or tries to start negotiating back and forth directly with my clients. So your first thought would be, oh, I'll just delete my client's email address off the purchase and sale agreement. Do not delete your client's email address off the purchase and sale agreement. If you delete any of the information from a pre-filled field or change it on a document, it will change or delete that information off of the details tab. And if you delete it off the details tab, then that email address will not appear when we are selecting our pre-tagged roles to send our clients these documents for signature. So do not delete their contact information off the purchase and sale agreement or any other co-op or any other document that you will send with a co-op agent. I will show you in the envelope how we can black out our client's email so that way we can protect their privacy without deleting it from the room. So I just wanted to point that out for you there. So scrolling down, we'll just fill in the rest of the information. There's 379-844. And again, this is, as I mentioned, working with Hutch at the region to see if we can get this information to auto-populate, knowing that it's going to be the exact same for every single transaction. So just fill in your information, KWFA01H33313. Now, you could be a great co-op agent and you could go ahead and you could type in your Harry Norman. So I could put in, let's do Joe McDonald for listing agent, and I could fill in his information 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I could fill in the rest of his information. So that way, it's one less thing for him to have to do. Perfect. So now I have everything input here, and I can click Save and Close. Any questions about adding the GAR forms or filling out the GAR forms before we start to prepare envelopes? All right. One thing I want to point out really quickly before we start creating our envelopes to send for signature is if you are with the Atlanta Permanent Office, Stacy has very graciously added your affiliated marketing and wire fraud disclosures to the documents. So you'd want to include those in your listing agreement docs. So you'd add those the same way. You'd click Add, DocuSign Forms. And I believe, Stacy, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you select DocuSign Groups, It would be a KWAP group there for your disclosures that you can then add to your room. The First Atlanta office does not have the disclosures in the Documents tab. I will show you how we add them in the envelope in just a moment.
I have them in multiple places just for convenience. So yes, in the KWAP, but also in the buyers and the sellers.
Oh, perfect. Even better. So yeah, when you're selecting those groups, they should already be there, so you can just easily add them to your room. Thank you, Stacy, for that clarification. So now that we have all of our documents, all of our GAR forms set up, now we have to send them out for signature. And the way we send documents in DocuSign out for signature is through an envelope. The way envelopes were explained to me, and I think it's really helpful, is think of an envelope in DocuSign as literally a manila envelope that you would put documents in to hand to your clients and say, hey, please review these documents and sign. It's that same thing. We're just organizing the documents in that envelope and sending them out for signature, and that's it. There are two ways that you can create an envelope. The first way is if you roll your mouse over a document, you can select it. So you can select as many as you want, and that toolbar will appear, and you can roll your mouse over to where you see the DocuSign button, and you can click DocuSign. This will take you directly into envelopes, and it will attach the selected documents to that envelope. That's way number one. I want to show you option number two, and that is by going directly into envelopes. So click on the envelopes tab. And then in the top right-hand corner, select new. And this will walk us through step by step, creating an envelope. So with everything, always just start at the top and fill in the information as we go down. So envelope name, so I will name this 1234 Main Street Northeast, listing agreement and purchase and sale. The envelope name is only for your organization purposes. The client is never going to see it, so you can name it whatever you want, but just be mindful you don't want to name it anything bad. It's just so that way as you go through a transaction, you're going to send numerous envelopes. You could send probably 30 envelopes if you wanted to. So you want to make sure that you name the envelope something that you can keep track of. So that way, if you ever need to go back and reference when a document was signed or originally signed or sent, or if it hasn't been signed yet, when you sent it, that way you easily know which envelope to look in. So now that we've named our envelope, let's add documents. So had I created this envelope from option one, selecting the DocuSign button within the room, or the Documents tab, those two documents would already be loaded here, but we need to add our documents. So I'll select Room Docs, and this pop-up window is going to show me all of the documents that I have available to me in my room to add. So I'm going to add all of them because I want to send them all out for signature. As you start to go through your transaction and you have more and more documents in the room, there'll be a lot more options because it's going to show every single one. So just be mindful of that. So I'll add selected. And now it's going to load those documents here into my envelope. Now, as a First Atlanta agent, I need to add my affiliated marketing and wire fraud prevention disclosures, and I will add them here in the envelope. So to do that, for me to add this template, I'm going to select Use a Template, and then I'm going to select the Shared with Me button on the left-hand side, and this is going to pull up all of the MCA documents that they've put together for me, or for the whole office. So let's give it a second to load. Now I'll scroll down and I'll see here's my affiliated marketing and our wire fraud disclosure, but it's a buyer version. If I continue to scroll down, here's a seller version. You'll want to make sure that you add the correct version of those disclosures because the signature fields are mapped according to those pre-tagged roles. So since I'm working on the listing side, I'm working with a seller, so I need to make sure I select the seller version here. In the templates for First Atlanta, we also have our pay at close request, W-9, wire requests, and any other information like that that you could possibly need. The reason these documents for First Atlanta are in the templates is because there's not there are no fields on these documents that you need to edit or fill in. These are simply being sent out for signature. So having them in the template makes the most sense, so there isn't a need or a feeling that you need to make any edits to them. So once I've added my templates, I'll click Add Selected. So it will add that to my list of documents. Now you'll see here I have all 6 of my documents that I want to send out for signature, but they're in alphabetical order. They're not in the right order that I want to send. So since I'm sending my listing agreement and a purchase and sale agreement, I want to make sure that I have my seller sign that listing agreement first before they send that purchase and sale. So I want to reorganize the order of the documents that my client will sign. It is in the envelope at this stage of creating the envelope that you can reorganize them. You are unable to reorder them in the preceding screen. So here we go. To reorganize, I'm just gonna roll my mouse over the document that I want. So here, and then hold my mouse down and drag it into the correct position that I want. So we have our exclusive seller listing agreement. Now I want the seller's property disclosure. And then we have community association disclosure. Then I want my wire fraud disclosure. And then I want affiliated marketing. And then purchase and sale is last. Now you have to reorder them here because in the next screen, when we're at double checking signatures, you're not able to change the order. So order is in the correct placement that I would like. So I'm going to scroll down and now we're going to add recipients. Pay close attention to the next couple minutes of this training because 9 times out of 10, most errors that I see from DocuSign is right here at the add recipients to the envelope. Now we want to add our clients so we can send this out for signature. So I click add recipients and this drop-down menu shows up and I'm going to select pre-tagged roles. You always want to select pre-tagged roles. The reason is all of these GAR forms are mapped so that way based on the role that we've added in the details tab, so seller 1 and seller 2 and listing agreement or listing agent, those fields on the document the signature fields are going to be pre-mapped to those roles. If you select room participants, you will have to go through and manually add a signature field, an initial field for all of those documents. And that's going to take a lot of time and not the best use of your time. So always be sure to select pre-tagged roles. So I click pre-tagged roles and this menu pops up with all of the different signature fields on any of these documents. So I'm going to select seller 1. I'll come over here from the drop-down menu and I'm going to select Tony Stark. Seller 2, drop-down menu, I'm going to select Pepper Potts. And then listing agent, I'm going to select myself. Now, you'll be in here more than once because you'll be listed as the agent owner of the room based on that this is your DocuSign account, but then you also show up because you added your name as the listing agent on the details tab. It doesn't matter which one you connect or select because it'll go to the same email address. Now, I mentioned to you earlier, if you wanted to, you could add your co-op agents and their clients' names to the details tab, which is fine because that'll pre-populate their information. When we are selecting pre-tagged roles, do not add any co-op agents to the signature. It will make sense like, oh, well, I'll have my client sign it and then that way it can automatically go to the co-op agents. That way they have a copy of the document. That sounds great in theory, but the way that DocuSign works is that they will not consider this document completed and signed and show a signed version until everyone that has been assigned a signature field has signed it. So if you add that buyer's agent here, or if you're on the buyer side, add the listing agent, they're not going to sign that document because you're going to go back and forth and negotiate it. So then it's never going to show as an actual offer because it's still going to be considered outstanding and unfinished. So please do not add your co-op agents here for pre-tagged roles. All right, so I've selected seller 1, seller 2, and myself as a listing agent. So I will click add selected. And that will load their names here. We will just give it a second. Perfect. So there's a lot of information that I'm going to walk through with which each one of these recipients. On the left-hand side, there's these little boxes and they each say 1 in them. That is the signing order of this document. So when everyone is selected as 1, everyone will receive the document at the same time for signature, which is fine. If that's how you want to run your business, that's a-okay. Some agents want to sign the documents first before they ever go to a client, and that is fine too. So you could change the signing order. For me, I want my seller 1 to be the first signer because seller 1 is going to be the one responsible for filling in the seller's property disclosure and community association disclosure. I want to make sure Tony has the opportunity to fill all that information in before it goes to seller 2, to Pepper Potts, so she has the opportunity to review that information and make sure that it is correct when she signs. And then I can be the last signer and I can make that listing agreement binding. So to update the order, just really quickly, just put your mouse in there, update the number, and I'm going to make myself listing agent signer number 3, and I'll make Pepper Potts signer number 2. So now it's going to go to Tony, then Pepper, and then myself. Now, one thing to clarify is that when Tony fills in his information, he has to click finish for the system to know that he has signed and completed all of his documents. And it's only once he selects the finish button that an email will go to Pepper saying, hey, Pepper, please review and sign these documents. So now that we've selected the order, now over here we have different rights that these clients can have. It's going to default to needs to sign, but there's a drop-down menu. We can update it to needs to view, receives a copy, or specify recipient. 9 times out of 10, you're going to need needs to sign. But if you wanted to, you could maybe potentially add your closing attorney on here or a lender, and you can say receives a copy. So if you were sending out a binding document and you just need to get a couple signatures, that way DocuSign can automatically send that document to that closing attorney or lender, and they'll have all those forms right there. You could do that. To the right is more, and there's 2 options. There's add access of authentication and add private message. You may be working with a client that is very hesitant about using an e-signature platform. They're afraid someone can hack in their email and start signing all these documents and buy a house on their behalf, and they don't even know. To help assuage some of those concerns, you can add an access authentication. This is going to require that your client puts in a code before they're able to fully log into the DocuSign system and start signing. So you can add an access authentication. So here I can just type in any numbers. So I can do 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And so I would tell Tony, probably outside of email, maybe on a phone call or a text message, and say, hey, Tony, you're going to have to type in 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 before you're able to start signing your DocuSign forms. That's to prevent anyone from breaking into your email and signing them on your behalf. And only he'll know that code. I could add the same one for Pepper or a different one for her if they would like. But for today, I don't really want to send that access code, so I'll click discard. And the other option is add private message. So this will add a message that goes only to this single recipient. Now, I'm actually going to add one here because Tony's seller 1, and Tony is going to be the one that fills in the community association disclosure and the seller's property disclosure. So I just want to send a quick reminder so he knows that he needs to fill in all of those fields before he clicks finish. So I'll say, hi, Tony. Please be sure to fill in the seller's property disclosure and community association disclosure before clicking finished. Thank you, Nick. Perfect. So that message is only going to go to Tony, and it'll just be a quick reminder for him. So I'm going to scroll down. We've added all recipients, so seller 1, seller 2, and myself. We don't need to add any more recipients. Now we can write a quick message. I would recommend that you update this email subject. So leave it as please DocuSign, and then type 1234 Main Street Northeast, and I'll put listing agreement and purchase and sale. Now I'm just using abbreviations for simplicity and time, but I don't recommend that you use abbreviations with clients. And then email, so hi Tony and Pepper, please review and sign the documents. Thank you, Nick. Perfect. So now I filled in all this information. So we've given our envelope a name. We've added all the documents that we need signatures for, and we've put them in the correct order that we want them to be signed in. I've added the recipients. I've given each of the recipients a specific signing order. I've added that private note for Tony. And then I added a generic message for them to let them know that they need to review and sign documents. Once you've done all those steps, we'll click Next on the top right-hand corner. This is going to take us into the envelope editor that we can go through and double check all of the signature fields to make sure that they're all in there correctly, add potentially any missing information, or add any missing signature fields. Now, there's a lot of information, a lot happening here on this page, so let me quickly walk through the layout before we start actually adding any text fields. So in the top left-hand corner, you'll see it defaults to Tony Stark, and it has a yellow dot next to his name. There's a drop-down menu, and it's going to show all 3 signers that have signature that have to sign somewhere on these documents, and has a different color with each signer. If I click Pepper Potts, you'll notice all these standard fields here turn blue, and if I select myself, they all turn purple. That is so as you are working and adding different signature fields and text boxes assigned to different signers, you can easily distinguish who is assigned to which field. So I'll just go back to Tony. Below that name is all the standard fields. So you can add a signature box, initial, date signed, name, email, company title, text box, check box, drop-down radio, payment item, bunch of different information here. So you can add all of these fields and they can each be assigned to a different recipient. In the middle of the page here, we have a preview of the actual document as it's filled in. Perfect. And then on the right-hand side, we have thumbnails of each one of our documents. So you can see here, it's in the correct order that I selected in the previous page. So we have listing agreement, SPD, CAD, wire fraud, affiliated marketing, and then purchase and sale. I'm unable to change the order here. So that's why I wanted to clarify we have to do that previously. So I can go through the thumbnails because it does kind of take a second for these pages to load. So I can quickly just scroll through the thumbnails. And then you'll notice here on page 8, there's little sticky notes on page 8 that lets me know that there are some signing fields here. Think of it very similar to any legal document you may get from a lawyer or from like when you buy a new car, that there's going to be a tab on each one of the pages that you need to sign, so that way you know to sign that page. And you'll see they are color coordinated, so it lets me know that here's signer 1, Tony, Pepper, and I scroll down and here's a signature field for myself. Now, one thing I really like about DocuSign is that you can add text fields that you can edit when you're signing. For the listing agreement, and only for the listing agreement today, I can actually make this document binding when I sign it. So I set myself up as the third and final signer. So I can add a text field here. So I'll select myself from the dropdown. So all the fields are purple. And I can select a text field here. And I can add this, reformat it so it fits in the field. And then you'll notice over here, it's a required field. That means when I go through the signature process, when it's my turn, the system is going to stop me to fill in this text box. I can add another text box here. So we'll change that. And then I can add a date signed box right here, and that's automatically going to populate the date and time that I signed this document. So what will happen is once I sign, I can make this document binding, and then DocuSign is going to send out a copy of the signed document to everyone. So that way both seller 1 and seller 2 will have a copy, and they'll know, hey, our listing agreement is now binding. Perfect. So now I'll just continue to scroll through the documents. So now we're getting to the seller's property disclosure. So remember before I showed that when we were in the documents tab, there was no way for me to edit those documents as an agent. Well, I'm just going to click Tony so everything's yellow. You'll notice here, all of these boxes and all these radio buttons, they're all yellow. They are all assigned to Tony Stark. Tony is the only one that can fill them out. Now, I do want to point out that none of these fields are required. So what that means is when Tony is going through the document to sign everything, the system is going to jump from signature field or required field to required field to required field, which more likely is going to be signature, signature, signature. You will have to tell your clients, hey, please be sure to scroll back up to fill in the fields for the disclosures before clicking finished. Most of the time when I hear from agents, hey, my seller didn't have permission to fill in the documents, what's going on? It's probably because they just clicked next, 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 and didn't actually fill them in. Now, there is a little bit of a workaround that you can do. And what I would recommend is that for the first field on this document, you can click on it and then click required. Now, what that's going to do is it's going to have the system stop seller one right here in this field, and he or she will have to fill in that information, and then he or she can just scroll through the rest of the document and fill it in appropriately. So I'll just scroll through. You can see all these yellow boxes. That means they are all assigned to Tony. All these beautiful text fields. So we'll just scroll through all those radio buttons, and then you'll see here, seller one and seller two, all good to go. Now we'll scroll down and we'll be at the community association disclosure, and this is going to be the same thing. Everything is assigned to seller one. Now that will be cause for conversation as you're talking with them, and oh, who is going to fill in all of these text boxes, or who's going to fill in all the disclosures? Because maybe Pepper is going to be the one that does it, and you do want to assign her to seller one. So here we go. We have all these fields. Now, depending on, if they have a mandatory condo association, a mandatory membership, voluntary, I would leave all those buttons blank and not required. So I would come down to the HOA name of association field, and I would make this field required, because again, it'll have the system stop seller one just from going to required field and make him or her fill that out right here. So just continue to scroll through. We'll see all of these fields are mapped to seller one. They're all yellow. And then we have seller one and seller two initials. So now we'll get to our seller's property. This is wire fraud prevention. So for whatever reason, I don't know why, but for our documents at KWFA, it moves the signature field down. So you just want to double check and make sure that the signature field is on the line correctly. Scrolling down to affiliated marketing. Looks like the signature field has not been added here, so I will just want to add signature field for seller one, and then a date signed. And then I'll select Pepper for seller two, and then date signed. Perfect. So it's that easy to add signature fields anywhere they're missing. So continuing to scroll down, now we're getting to our purchase and sale agreement. So we'll double check all this information is correct. There are signature fields for the seller. So scrolling down, keep scrolling, let this page load. All right, so now we get to the special stipulations portion. Remember earlier I told you there's two workarounds if the special stips field isn't large enough for you in the Documents tab. One is to use the additional special stipulations page, which is fine. Or what you could do is you can select yourself and you can add a text box. So I could add a text box here, and I can resize it to any size that I want. Click in here and just start typing all the steps that you would like to include. More. Now, you may have so many steps, they don't fit. So what you can do is I can highlight all of them and then come over here to the menu bar that appears whenever I'm in a field. And I can click on formatting, and I can change this font to 7. And now it's a lot smaller, so I have more room to fill in more steps, more, And now you can see they fit much better. Now, you may not be the most popular person or most well-liked person with your co-op agent or a closing attorney that has to read 7-point font to read all your steps, but at least they're all going to fit right there in that field. So that's just another workaround. And then the last thing I want to point out for this is you'll want to make sure that this field is unchecked so it is not a required field, and then read only. By selecting read only, it'll make sure that all those stipulations appear when every single one of the signers reviews and signs that document. All right, so we'll continue to scroll down.
Quick question, when you have a minute, or I guess I can wait to the end, what do you think?
I mean, you can, is it about?
It's about the required, when you say required versus read only, when they're filling in the information, even if it doesn't say require, it's going to stop them. For example, in the disclosure, all those things that they need to fill out and answer, even if it's not required, they can still do it. They require, is that right?
You're half correct. So they'll, even if the fields are not required, they would be able to fill them in, but the system will not stop them to prompt them to fill them in. So that's why you have to say, hey, before you click finish, be sure to scroll up and fill in all of those fields, which is why I added each one of the first fields on the seller's property disclosure and community association disclosure. I did make those fields required, so then the system does prompt them to stop and start filling that information out.
I see. Anything that is not marked as required and they don't fill in, at the end, it's not, they can still sign and send it?
Correct. So if it's not a required field, they can bypass it. They can sign and do all the completed required fields and then click finished. And then they'll submit a document that doesn't have any of those fields filled in.
Thank you.
Yep. But by selecting read only, that means that no one will be able to edit this text field once it's sent out for signature. And it will appear on every single person's form when they're reviewing for signature. So scrolling down, we have our seller 1 and seller 2, and this is the purchase and sale agreement. So here's where I was mentioning, I don't like to include my client's information. So I would have traditionally deleted this out of .loop, but in DocuSign, it doesn't work that way. So I'm going to show you how to black out your client's information. So over here on the left-hand side, there's a little pencil icon, and it is for markup tools. So click markup tools, and then we have line. And then what I can do is I can just come over here and I can just make a line that covers the email address, try to make it as straight as possible. Now I have the line selected, so I have this menu over here. So I can change the color, I'll change that to black. And then I can change the thickness, and I can just change this, the thickness of it. And then I can just kind of move that down just a bit so it covers the full signature. Perfect. So now it hides the signature, and the co-op agent and the buyers will never be able to know what their contact information is. Another great feature that I like about DocuSign is that I can select this field and I can hit Command copy and then Command paste, and I can just paste a new black box, and then I can just drag that and cover the rest of that email address, and perfect. Now both of my clients' email addresses are protected from the co-op agent, and they'll be none the wiser. And yes, black bars on a purchase and sale agreement are not the most aesthetically pleasing to look at, but at the end of the day, it does the job of protecting our clients while still allowing us to have a fully executed purchase and sale agreement. So now that we've added that, the signature or the black boxes, we'll scroll down. We'll just want to make sure that all the signature fields are correct. So here I am as the listing agent, date signed, and we are good to go. So now all the documents look good. We can send them out for signature. Before we send for signature, if you want to, you can click on recipient preview right here. And this will just give you a quick preview of what the experience is going to be like for your clients to fill in. So I can select Tony Stark, and it's going to load what it's going to be like for Tony when he goes into Phil to sign in for these and to sign these forms. And you can select the different platforms. So you can see here the default to what it looks like on a desktop, what it looks like on a tablet, and then on a phone. So they can sign on a phone, but that's going to be really hard for them to read. So make sure that if they're signing on the phone while they're out and about or away from the computer, that you talk through the details of this document very clearly. And let me plug in my computer. Perfect. So I'm going to select Tony just so I can really quickly show you what it's going to be like. So he'll click Start and see how it jumps to that first required field. He would sign there. And now, because I added that required field for what year was the dwelling constructed, it'll stop him to fill that in. And now it's going to be much more easy for him to come through here and select all this information. And then he could click Next, and I'll go to the signature field. And then for the community association, it's going to be required that he fills in the name of the association, HOA name. And then again, it'd be easier for him to fill this information. Now, this is just a recipient preview. This isn't actually going to edit or change anything. I just wanted to show you really quickly. So I'll click Next, Initial, Sign, Sign, Initial, Sign. And now he has signed everything, and he would theoretically be able to click Finish. So you can see just what, all the differences between each one of the signing permissions. So I'll click the X in the top right-hand corner to get out of the recipient preview. And now I'm going to click Send. So let's give this a second to send. Perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a new window. Let me go to, and I'm going to open up my account right here for my KWFA tech account. And you can see here, I have an email that says, please DocuSign 1234 Main Street listing agreement and PSA. So that's the documents that we just sent out. So I'll click on this. I'll scroll down. You'll see here's my private message to Tony. It says, hi, Tony, please be sure to fill in the SPD and CAD before clicking Finish. And only Tony's going to see this private message. So I click on Review Documents. All right, and then I'll click on I agree to use this electronic records and signatures, continue, click Start, and then Sign. It's going to ask for your clients to confirm their signature fields. So they can change it if they want to. They have different options. Click Adopt and Sign. Perfect. And then again, here we are. I made this first field on the seller's property disclosure required. So I have to fill that in. So 2000 and 2000. No, and then just type in information here, info, info, info. Yes, there's HOA, yes, lead-based paint, and you just kind of go through here, and I'm just showing like how easy this is for your clients to fill in the information. And then just type in info. HVAC system, 8 years old. And then we can just kind of just go through here and click. I mean, it's public. Just selecting buttons. I don't know what I'm selecting, but so you'll see here. I don't want to go through this whole thing just for sake of time, but you get the idea of they can fill in all the information and then click Next, and then I'll take him to the signature field. And this is going to take him to the HOA document, and it's going to stop him at the name of the association, which is going to be much easier for him to fill in, HOA name. And he'll be able to select, okay, this is a mandatory association, and it's $1,000 paid in 2 installments. And then he can just go in and fill in name of person, company, and he can just fill in all this information. And it's going to be a lot easier for him because it won't jump past it because we made this field here required, and then we know that it's required because it shows as red. So just for sake of time, actually I'll just scroll down and I'll fill in the services. We have common area maintenance. We have swim, tennis, clubhouse, playground, and common area insurance. Perfect. And then we can sign, initial. And if I scroll up, you can see here are those special stipulations that I made as read only, so they show up. when your client reviews them. And then you'll see here, we have a signature field and then the black box over his email address. So I click sign. Now he's done. At the bottom of the page in the top right-hand corner, there's a button that says finish. In order for these documents to be considered finished from Tony signing, he must click finish. If he doesn't and he just X's it out, the system will not confirm that he is signed, so will not send an email to Pepper to let her know it's now her time to sign. So let me click finish. It'll ask if they want to create an account. They don't need to. You can say no thanks. And now they'll get this message that says you're all done. And that's how they know that they are done signing. So let me come over here. Let me open up my other email account. All right, where is that one? Here we go. So now we'll see the first email that I have should be from DocuSign, saying please DocuSign. Perfect, right there. And when I scroll down, you'll see here's a message that just says, hi, Tony and Pepper, please review and sign documents. It does not include that private message that went only to Tony. So now it's Pepper's turn. So click review documents. It'll be a very similar process. I agree to use the electronic records. Continue, click start, sign. It'll ask her to confirm her signature, adopt and sign. Now, it scrolled straight to the signature field of the seller's property disclosure, but I want to scroll up because I want to show you, because Tony filled in all these fields, it shows when Pepper goes to sign. So this is why I was saying there is a benefit to having a signing order, because it allows Pepper, if she wants to scroll back up and review to make sure that all the information that Tony filled in here is correct. So I'll click next, initial, sign, sign, initial, sign, then sign. And now we have the finish button. So I'll click finish. Same thing will pop up. I do not want to create an account. No, thank you. You're all done. Good to go. So now I'll come into my email and I'll give it just a second. And then here we go. It is now my turn to sign. I click review documents. Click continue, start, sign. Now remember, I can make this document binding because I made these required fields, so it's going to stop me. So I'll make this binding as of 12 p.m. today, and then it adds the date signed right there to 7/31. Click next, sign, and now I'm finished. Now I don't want to log in because I'm logged in in another tab. So I'm all done. So we are all good here. So now when I come back into, let's look at Tony's email, we'll give it just a minute and it should pop up. Boop, boop. It should theoretically pop up with an email that says completed all the DocuSign forms. It popped up in my email. So if I click here, see it says completed, please DocuSign. That means now that all of those documents have been signed. I don't know why this one is not loading. Anyway, so if I go back into DocuSign in just a moment, right here, I'll still be in the envelopes page, so I'll just click refresh on the envelope. And it's going to show completed. I can open up the envelope and it's going to show the exact date and time that everyone signed. So I'm going to exit out of this and I'm going to go to the Documents tab because that's where I'm going to find the signed copies of those documents. So as I mentioned before, all signed documents are going to default into the Room Docs folder. And then we'll see here, we have these documents with a green checkbox that say signed. These are all the documents that have been signed. And then this here is a PDF certification of all this, of everyone that signed, what time they signed. So we're good to go here. You don't really need that, but it's just good to have. So now what I want to do is I want to move all of the signed listing agreement forms into the listing agreement folder. Then wire fraud, seller's property disclosure, and I click move, select a destination, folder and current room, select listing agreement, and move. Perfect. So now we've organized all of our documents, so we're good to go. Now the system is going to automatically send out an email and to each one of the signers once everything's been completed. And I can show you. So now, see here, it shows completed, please DocuSign 1234 Main Street, view completed docs, and they could click on this link and that would give them the opportunity to download those completed documents. But at Keller Williams, we always provide top tier customer service and we want to make things as easy and simple for our clients as possible. So I want to send these documents to my clients in an email and say, here are copies of all the signed documents for the listing agreement. But I don't want to send 5 different documents. So within DocuSign, you can actually combine multiple PDFs into one PDF. So by clicking on all the signed documents, I can then come up to this toolbar and scroll over each icon to where I get to the icon that says combine. So click on combine. And I can give this document a name. So I can name this 1234 Main Street Northeast Sign Listing Agreement. Now I can put these in whatever order I want. So I will click on the exclusive seller listing agreement and then drag that up. Then I'll click on seller's property disclosure and then community association disclosure and then affiliated marketing and wire fraud. That's the order that I want these documents in. And I can click save. Page will reload. And if I scroll down to the room docs folder, there will be the new document that I just created. So I want to move this up into the listing agreements folder. And there we go. And I can open this up and it's going to show here are 20 pages worth of documents of all those documents together. And if I want to download this to send to my client, I just select the document and then from the toolbar, select download. And then it downloads and it's that simple. Let's say you are working on the buyer side and you receive the disclosures from your co-op agent. Would you want to upload those into upload those into DocuSign so you can send that for signature? To do that, click on add and then select computer and then a pop-up menu will show. So let me come over here to some folders. I don't know if you can see the actual folders, but I'm going to add some disclosures that I have recently received. Community association disclosure and seller's property disclosure. Okay. So it's only letting me add one at a time, it looks like. Perfect. So here we say, here's our community association disclosure for Little John Lane. That's how easy it is to upload a document here. You can open it. Now, I don't have the ability to edit anything here.
Nick?
Yes?
Sorry, we couldn't see how you were doing that. You must have clicked out. I mean, I know how, but.
Yeah, so it's because I'm sharing my screen or my web browser, so when it opened up the Finder, but you just click add and then select computer, and then it would open up your Finder and you can add whichever document you want.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted you to show that.
Perfect. And then again, so if I wanted to send this for signature, I could select it, click DocuSign, and it would create an envelope and we can send that out for signature. So that's how easy it is to add documents from our computer. Now, let's say we receive, we're the listing agent and we receive an offer from a buyer's agent, and that buyer's agent combined everything into a single PDF to make it as simple as possible. Well, that's great and it's appreciated, but when we submit things to Lynn for compliance review, she needs them as individual separate documents. DocuSign can separate documents as well. So I'm just going to select the signed listing agreement document that I just combined, and I'll separate it, so I'll show you the same action. So theoretically what you would do is you'd come up here, you'd click add, you would select computer, and then you would add in that multiple page document from the buyer's agent, and then you would select it, and then if I will open it up. This is a little bit different, so you open it up, and then in the top right hand corner there's a icon that looks like a piece of paper with the corner dog-eared called Document Actions. Select that, and then click on Split. So now when you click on Split, it's going to show you on the right-hand side of the page, just quick previews of all the pages of the document. You can roll over so you can see the exact name of the document, the pages of it. And then over here on the left-hand side, we can rename what each one of these split documents will be named. So the first one is, I'm just going to name this exclusive seller's listing agreement, signed, and then I'll select the pages. So we'll do pages 1 through 8. And it's going to highlight it so I know that that is all of the pages that I want with this document. Then I need to add another document. So just click add a document and we'll select seller's property disclosure signed. And this will be pages, what is this, 9, 10, 9 through 15. And I highlighted it and it lets me know. Now add another document and I'll select CAD signed. And then I'll come over to page 16, double check to see all the pages that I have. And it is page 16 through 18. Perfect. And the next is affiliated marketing disclosure signed, and this will be page 19. And then we'll do add document, and this will be wire fraud prevention disclosure signed, and this will be page 20. And I'll highlight and lets you know. So once I have selected and named all of these split documents, I just click save. The page will reload, and then down in the room docs folder, you'll see I now have all of these documents split up. So here's my affiliated marketing signed, community association signed, exclusive seller listing agreement signed. All these PDFs have now been separated. So I can easily add these to command for review. Now our next step is to submit these documents for compliance review. But before we jump back into command, I want to see are there any questions for anything that I've done in DocuSign that you have before we jump back into command?
Okay, would you say best practice? I love the way you, on the listing agreement, made yourself the last signatory and went ahead and pre-populated the acceptance fields. I'm assuming you would do the same thing with the exclusive buyer brokerage agreement?
Yeah, you could do the same thing with the exclusive buyer brokerage agreement.
But then when you're representing a buyer and you fill out the purchase and sale, you wouldn't necessarily do that with the, well, you couldn't do that with a purchase and sale because you don't know
if it's going to be binding. So what I can show you really quickly is, let's say you go back and forth with the listing agent and you guys finally come to terms and you're like, yep, we agree on this. We'll all sign this updated purchase and sale agreement. And the listing agent sends you over the updated document, you upload it. And I'll just come down here to the signed version that I have right here of the purchase and sale. So I'm just using this as an example. So let's say everyone is signed, but the listing agent forgot to make it binding. Well, I can make it binding. There's two ways. The correct way would be for me to select this and DocuSign, go select DocuSign. And then I would add the binding date and add initials for everybody. That would be the correct way to do it. Now, the incorrect way and the more efficient way and not the proper way is going to be just create an envelope, add recipient. You'll select room participants because there are no pre-tagged roles for this PDF. Room participants. I will select myself, click add selected. I'm just sending it to myself, so I don't need to create a message. I'll click next. And then I will come down to the bottom of the purchase and sale agreement, pretend these are all signed, and then I can add a date signed here, transaction data here, and then I can add my name right there, and then click send. So now I can just, in the envelope, it says need my signature. I can open this, click sign. It's going to open up the document. I'll click continue. And if I scroll down to the bottom, it'll have added my name and the date, and then click finish.
Okay, now why is that incorrect?
Because technically, and I'm not a compliance broker or a lawyer, but
Oh,
once
yeah.
you make any change to a signed document, all of the signers need to initial that change. And by adding a binding date and time to that document, it's actually a change to it. So theoretically, the clients will need to sign that change, but we all know so often we'll just add that date because it's so much faster and so much easier, and we don't want to pester our clients for one more thing to sign.
Gotcha.
So if I come back into the Documents tab, I scroll down, I will now have a purchase and sale document, signed. So every time I send it to sign, it'll add signed at the end. And if I click on it, I scroll all the way to the bottom, and here's where I made a binding. So that's a fast way and the incorrect way of making a document binding after everyone has signed it.
Okay, we had a question in the chat from Nicole Mabin in my office. If a seller omits something on the seller's property disclosure, can they go back if they're seller one after they've clicked finish? How do you handle that?
So what I would recommend that you do if they forgot something is come up to the signed version of the seller's property disclosure, add that to an envelope, and then add a text, add them as the recipient, add a text field for just that seller, and then they could go back in and just fill in that missing text field. I wouldn't resend the whole document to them because it'll be a pain in the butt.
Well, I'm not sure I followed that.
Okay, so I'll show you. So really quickly, so let's say they forgot a field here. So we'll select seller's property disclosure, click DocuSign.
Mm-hmm.
I'll come down here, add recipient. I'm just going to be really quick here. So I'll select Tony Stark as recipient because he's seller one. Click add, next. And then I'll scroll down, and let's say Tony forgot to fill in this explanation right here. So I can add a text box, and I'll make this required. All right, so this is the field that he forgot to provide the explanation for flood damage. And this is all I forgot to fill in. So I click send. Now it's going to send to Tony. So I'm going to go into my email address that I have for Tony. Give it just a second, and it should load. It's being extra ornery today. Please DocuSign. So here's, if I click on this, review documents. I agree, continue, start, and it's going to jump me right to this field. Water heater burst in December of 2019. Cleaned carpet, and replaced water heater. And then we'll click finish.
Okay, I think you threw me when you said it would be a pain to send the whole document. You are sending the whole document, but they only have to fill in one field if it's just one field.
So when I say send the whole document, I mean like the GAR templated version where they'd have to fill in all of the
right.
What
Okay.
I sent was
Thank
a
you.
PDF. So if I come back into DocuSign, I can refresh the envelopes and it will show that this envelope has been signed. I'll come back into the documents, and if I scroll down to the room documents folder, I'll see I have an updated seller's property disclosure signed. I can drag that up into the listing agreements folder. And let me find it. Here we go. Seller's property disclosure signed. Open that. If I scroll down, water heater burst, and here's the text that he just added. And that's how I would recommend that you send a disclosure, that they just need to add one or two fields, that you would just send the PDF and
That's
give
great.
Now,
would you archive the earlier version?
Yes, that's what I was going to say. So it'll get confusing because it'll show the same name and just says signed. So now I'll just come up here and click archive. So now I don't have to worry and get confused that there's multiple seller's property disclosures in my documents tab. So,
because I think the most common scenario when I'm looking at Lynn's, when Lynn is checking things, reviewing docs, is that on the lead-based paint disclosure, something has failed to be checked or whatnot. You know, it's just one little field.
yeah.
And or even on the purchase and sale, you know.
Yeah. So, and yes, the correct, proper legal way to do it would be to make that change, have everyone initial it. But so often it's just easier just to click a little checkbox and do it ourselves or something like that. So you can just add a quick text box and send it to yourself or to the client to fill in that information quickly.
Got it. And I'll verify with Lynn that she's totally good with that.
Well, Lynn's going to say that anytime that there's a change made to a form that everyone needs to initial it because that's the proper correct.
Well, and the other thing she always says is if it's already been signed, then you have to do an amendment.
Yep.
Create an amendment. So
and I'm not here to teach on the proper way to fill out these forms and make sure that everything is legal and GREC compliant. I just want to show you how to use DocuSign
tool.
system. And show you some kind of some tricks that we had in .loop that we can kind of use similar tricks here in DocuSign. So for time's sake, we're already 3 minutes over, so I still want to show you how to submit these for compliance review. So now that we have all of our documents in DocuSign, everything's signed, now we need to submit them to Lynn to review. So I'm going to come back into my command, into opportunities, and I'm going to start adding these documents. So there's two ways that you can do this. The first one will be, I can see the listing agreement and I can click add a file. And then I will select DocuSign as the source of my documents. And you'll see here I have folders, so I can select the listing agreement folder and it's only going to show me the documents that I have in that folder. And I can come here to my exclusive seller listing agreement signed. Now you'll see it's going to show every document that's in that folder, but I don't want the non-signed one, I just want signed. So I click sign and then assign, and there we go. Now it has added that document. Now you can go through there and do this one by one, or at the top, you can click attach multiple items. And this will do the same thing. We'll select DocuSign as the source. And I'll come to community association disclosure and I'll just go through the list, and you need to double check and be careful because these documents will be in alphabetical order. So here we have our community association disclosure signed. Then select properties sellers disclosure. Sellers property disclosure signed. We don't have lead-based paint. Rawls Group affiliated marketing. So come down here. I think that should be affiliated marketing signed. And then Rawls Group wire fraud signed, and then click attach. And now we'll add all those documents here at once. And then let's say we have for another extra document that isn't listed here, we can click add item. I can give this document a name, so I can just name this, you know, extra information. Document type, you can select whatever document type it is. It doesn't really matter. It's not going to affect anything. So I can just select agreement, select source of documents, DocuSign it, and select folder. I can select listing agreement folder, and then come down here. And I can add, and I'm just going to select the wire fraud. But if you had an extra document in there, you can select save. And we'll add that extra information document there. And then you would, for a listing, once you have that signed listing agreement, you would click submit to MC right here in the top right-hand corner. And that is what is going to submit those documents for Lynn to review. You have to click submit to MC in order for Lynn to have access to look at your documents. Then once she reviews them, you'll have a notification right here. And it'll say your compliance review event has been completed. Oh. Sorry about that. And then if there's any feedback, so let's say on the lead-based paint, you forgot to select, the client forgot to select 3C, there'll be a note here. It says, please have seller select 3C or whatever. And you'll know that you need to make that update or change. And it will let you know if it's been approved or rejected right here in the status. Now, let's say we come into under contract, we have our purchase and sale, and then we terminate. So the buyer's terminated during due diligence. Well, your first thought would be like, oh crap, I need to, oh no, I need to delete all these documents. Well, you don't want to do that. What you can do is right here where it says under contract, there's a drop-down menu. Select that and you can add a version. And then we can say under contract version 2 and then create a new version. And then it would show a whole new blank slate of documents for us to upload. So that way we can keep track of all the documents and contracts we have on it. And then it would allow us, once we updated and added new documents, to click submit to MC. So that is our training today. We've gone a couple minutes over, but what questions do you have? Anything you want me to show you again with either DocuSign or uploading for compliance? I'm not in any rush, so I'm happy to answer any questions. I know we're a little bit over, but feel free to ask away. All right. Well, if there are no questions, then that is it for our DocuSign training this morning. Thank you so much for joining me. As you start to play around in DocuSign and submitting things for compliance, let me know what questions you have. Feel free to send me a text message or an email. I'm happy to jump on a call. We can walk through, troubleshoot anything with you. Let me know how I can help, and have a great rest of your Friday and a great weekend.
Thank you, Nick.
Yes.
No, I just said thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for joining, and let me know what questions you have. All right. Have a good rest of your day.
You too. Thank you.